In the unlikely event of an emergency requiring the evacuation of this facility, those of you sitting in the front of the auditorium should exit immediately via the doors on the left and right sides of the stage. Those of you in the back should evacuate via the rear doors. Those on the left side should exit via the glass lobby doors on the right. These are the doors through which you probably entered. Those on the right side should continue into the lobby and straight ahead to the broad glass enclosed corridor. There, you may exit the building either to the left or right. Should one or more of these exit ways be blocked by smoke or fire, please leave via the nearest alternate route. Restrooms are located off the corridor to the left of the lobby. Water fountains are located between the restrooms. Vending machines are located at the end of the hall that parallels the auditorium wall on your right.
Good morning to everyone in the auditorium and online also. My name is Jim Vosberg, the director of the Oak Ridge Institute for Science and Education. Thank you for attending the 2019 Veterans Day Appreciation Program. We're here today to reflect on the legacy of our veterans, to acknowledge their contributions that they've made for our country, the sacrifice of leaving their homes, and the bravery they have shown to protect our freedom. We've got an awesome program for you today, including a fantastic keynote speaker, whom you will truly enjoy. But for now, let's turn our attention to the Anderson County High School Navy Junior ROTC Color Guard as they present the colors. Please stand and remain standing for the national anthem. Thank you. You can be seated, please. Thanks again for everyone coming today. I appreciate it. Each year on or near Veterans Day, we have an opportunity to show our veterans how deeply we appreciate the sacrifices they've made to uphold the freedoms we enjoy every day. Today, I have the honor of introducing to you our keynote speaker, a motivational leader and a personal friend of mine. Chris Coyne, retired Chief Master Sergeant, spent 26 years in the Air Force, serving in a senior level advisory position and leadership roles. He's helped train and prepare military leaders at all levels. Mr. Coyne now serves as the founder and president of Motivate, dedicated to coaching leaders and helping them realize their fullest potential in any situation or environment. He's also the new Chief Executive Officer of Muletown Coffee in Columbia, Tennessee, which is surprising because I don't remember ever seeing Chris drinking coffee, but nevertheless. So on a personal note, I've known Chris for many years. He's an amazing person. He does have a few flaws. Some of them are posting side-by-side or timely comments on social media about his beloved Boston Bruin hockey team. And he actually does 25 hours of work in 24 hours, and he's an amazing, amazing person. Somebody that I look up to, and I don't say that lightly, my friend. Thank you very much for being here, Chris, making the trip down here, and I look forward to hearing you speak. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, where are we? Good morning. It's good morning Central Time, so I'm still safe, I think. Microphone okay? Am I going to blast you out of here? Okay, wonderful. Let me start by saying, we may have to take that down a little bit if we can. Yeah, good, thanks. Let me start by saying the only way for me to be able to make a connection with you is to be honest. So I'm going to be honest right up front. This morning, when I put my uniform on for the first time in quite a while, let's just say there were some unfriendly negotiations. Okay, now the good news is only you over here have any worries at all about, I'm about a half a cheeseburger away from these buttons being lethal. So I'm not ignoring you, I'm just going to stay on this side as much as I can in the event that something were to go wrong. In all seriousness, I do not get a chance to put the uniform on very, very much anymore. And when I do, I am proud and I'm excited and I'm incredibly humbled by that. So thank you, buddy, for inviting me to be here today. I will also warn you that the kinds of audiences that I typically speak to, from small audiences to very large audiences, I analyze them quite a bit ahead of time to make sure that I can make the best connection that I can. I'm going to apologize ahead of time that with Jim in the audience, I'm not going to be using very big words. Okay, the security forces and a Vanderbilt grad, so that's a double whammy for my man here. And I got Dave Duncan to back me up just in case something happens. Okay, today I don't have much time, but I'd like to try to make an impact if I can. And thank you for giving me your time this morning. What I'd like to do is I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my experiences in the military and try to tie a few different segments of my career and the lessons that I took away, which I hope you will find are not unique to the military, and they're certainly not unique to leadership. It began back in 1985 when I left Rhode Island, where I was born, for basic military training. Now, the more astute of you have already realized this is not a native East Tennessee accent, okay? And when I first came here, they really only had two questions for me when they heard my accent for the first time. What church do you go to, which is a very important question, and which college football team do you support? So I told them which church I'm affiliated with, and then I said, now, where I'm from, college football is for guys who can't skate, okay? Needless to say, that did not endear me to anybody right off the bat. But quickly, as I was just saying to my new friend Richard, I went to the University of Tennessee and finished my master's and most of my postgraduate work there. If you cut my arm, like many of you in here, it will bleed orange, and I am suffering right along with you, for sure, no matter how far away I go. So, 1985, I left Rhode Island, and I went to basic training in Texas, and then on to technical school in Mississippi shortly after that. The first 3 months of my career, upon looking back, I can say there was really one massive takeaway. And I think it's important, particularly for young men and women, to hear this. I came face to face with accountability and the idea of accountability, which means being accountable to yourself first, and then being accountable to others. As you find out later in life, you can't influence anybody or lead anybody unless you're true to yourself first. Needless to say, basic training was an eye-opening wake-up call for a 17-year-old kid from a beach town landing down in Texas. But I can tell you that very quickly on, I realized this was where I was meant to be, even at 17 years old. And that was 30-some-odd years ago. I can't believe that long. 30, yeah. Man, oh man, oh man. So, basic training, tech school, and then my first duty assignment was Grand Forks, North Dakota. Why is that important? Because in North Dakota, there are 3 trees. They're on 8-hour shifts. That's all you have up there. There's no beach. There's no ocean. I thought to myself, I've done something wrong in God's eyes, and I just don't know what it is. But I hope quickly that I will find out and hopefully make this a career. Up there in the missile fields, it was incredibly lonely and incredibly difficult. But here's where I started to learn the lesson of sacrifice. Doing something we don't want to do for the greater good. Let me say that again. The idea of sacrifice, and I don't just mean physical in the military, up into writing a check that could cost you your life. Just in basic terms, the idea of sacrifice means putting yourself second and working for a greater good. And certainly out there in the missile fields of North Dakota, I learned that lesson very, very quickly. But we built a lot of camaraderie, and together we realized that the career we were embarking on was going to require quite a bit of us. And whether you choose a job in the military, or whether you're in college, or whether you're just starting your career, and for some of you, I look in the room, I see young faces, I see medium faces, and I see faces that look like me. And all along the way, you learn the lessons of accountability and sacrifice. My friends, that is not unique to men and women who wear a uniform. We all feel that. And those are things that we should be thinking about each and every day in our lives as we walk the path that are set before us. In the good days, and especially in the bad days, to remember those two. Yeah? So, left North Dakota after 2 years, because who can stay in North Dakota for more than 2 years? Other than the people who live there, which, by the way, has anybody ever been to North Dakota? It's not many, but people are wonderful. They're friendly because they have to be. They have to stick together or they die, right? It was 27 degrees below zero the day I landed there. That's not an exaggeration. And I said to my sponsor, I said, what are we doing here? Isn't there warmer places we can fly planes and have missile fields? So 2 years is all I lasted up there, full of sacrifice, full of accountability. And I left on a program called Palace Chase, which allowed you to trade in the rest of your active duty time for the Air National Guard or the Air Force Reserve. And I went back to Rhode Island where I thought I belonged. And I went back to school and stayed in the military. And then something very important happened. A very, very, very delusional Chief Master Sergeant at the time decided that I should be in charge of something. What a dope. I mean, really, he was incredibly short-sighted. I think maybe I was skinny, I was a soccer player, the uniform fit me well, and so in basic appearance it looked like, hey, here's a guy that could probably make it happen. And like 3 days after he put me in there, he thought, sweet Jesus, what have I done? I didn't just make mistakes that are in the book. I contributed several chapters to that book of mistakes in leadership. But at 19 years old, I had nowhere to go, and I had to figure it out. And very soon after I took over leading a small squadron, I learned very quickly, along with accountability and sacrifice, that there's a challenge with leadership that we don't always talk about. So let's talk about it now, shall we? You can supervise all day long. Supervision means overvision, right? Watching somebody do something. And that's a very important part of any organization. You can manage very well. Budgets and resources and the movement of people, and those are all very important parts of an organization as well. But leadership requires something that the other two do not. In order to be a leader, you have to have somebody willing to follow you. Or as John Maxwell says, if you think you're leading somebody, every now and then it's important for you to turn around and look behind you. Because if there's nobody there, you're just out taking a walk. Now, you call yourself a leader all day long, but if there's nobody there to follow you, leadership is just a euphemism. I meet with CEOs, senior executives, all the way down to two hipsters who owned a coffee shop, which I now am part owner in. Don't even get me started how I got there. That's a topic after the speech I'll be glad to share with you. And what I found throughout all of the leaders is that the most self-aware leader will ask themselves two questions on a consistent basis. You want those two questions? Don't overwhelm me now. Who am I leading? How do I know? Who am I leading, and how do I know? You can answer the supervising and management questions very easily just by looking at an organizational chart. Now answer the leadership question. Who am I leading, and how do I know? And there in Rhode Island, when I came back from North Dakota after thawing out, I realized very quickly that takes trust, it takes respect, it takes integrity, it takes a number of things that are not just going to be given to you. You have to earn them day in and day out. But the reward at the end is you have many people behind you who trust you and respect you. And when you have people like that in your corner who are inspired and who are engaged and who are excited and want to follow you, there's nothing you can't do, including running a coffee shop when you don't drink coffee. Jim's not wrong. 26 years in the military, I never drank a cup of coffee. What am I doing owning a coffee shop? But all those years I got to lead and I loved it. And then 10 years, 2 weeks ago, Motivate celebrated its 10-year anniversary. So for 10 years I've been able to teach leaders and mentor them and coach them. And now I get to lead again. And how great is that? And I don't want to hear talk about millennial generations and all that nonsense. We're all the same, my friends. We all have the same challenges. We all have the same needs and the same desires. Learn one another's narrative, and you can cut through all that cross-generational stuff. Traditionalists, baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, all in the workforce together. And if we're going to survive and we're going to do great things, we've got to figure out how to talk to one another. And that begins and ends with leadership. Yeah? Okay. When I left Rhode Island, I went down, I was selected to go to the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy in a place called Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, when I'm in Rhode Island, I kind of know Tennessee. Like it's that super long state that's got a spear on the end of it. And I know Music City, but I don't know anything about Knoxville. And again, growing up by the beach, there's mountains down there. I think it'll be okay. I came in the fall of 1993, and I'm not lying to you when I say to you, the first weekend I was here, I was in love, and I didn't want to leave. As many of you probably feel the same way. There's something very special about where we live here. And so I went through the school, managed to graduate, thank you, Lord. And shortly after that, I applied to come down in a graduate assistantship and try to get on their faculty at some point. And was lucky enough a year later to gain that honor. I spent many years in Knoxville, and here's where I learned not just leadership and practicality, but how to transfer that to others and help them be good leaders. And do so with all those esoteric things that we hear that are very difficult to manage, unless you've done your doctoral research on it like my boy has. Engagement and confidence and motivation and inspiration and all those things that we know when we see it, but it's incredibly difficult to measure along the way. But I could see it firsthand in our young students. I could see them stepping into the breach, so to speak, and saying, I'm ready. Who should I send? Send me. I'm ready. Except for one day, my first day speaking in front of a large audience, and probably like many of you, I was petrified. To make matters worse, sitting in the first two seats right here, I'll just call them Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And Dumb is out like a light. Now, I don't mean like just sort of drifting. He's dreaming of winning the lottery. I don't know what his head's down, eyes are shut. So I said to his buddy, because I have rank and I have position, power position on the stage, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself at this point, if I don't mind being honest with you. So I said, hey, wake your buddy up. He looked at me and he said, "You put him to sleep, you wake him up." True story. Dead true story. So how do you think I reacted to that? Exactly the way you just did. It was hilarious, right? I broke any sort of composure that I had. Now, we had a little chat afterwards. Don't get me wrong. But right there, I said, that was good. And I just kind of kicked his feet, and he came too. There was 200 and change in the audience. There's no way to get everybody up and out. That's what I really wanted, and just leave him sitting by himself and think, what have I done? So through the years, teaching leadership, many, many years teaching leadership, I had a 2-year, what I like to call now my lobotomy experiment in Washington, D.C. 2 years, which was a year, 364 days, and 10 hours too long. It was really great the first few hours, and then I thought, what have I got myself into? But the lesson that I took away from there is I was in charge of a very, very, very difficult operation, and it caused me to grow and to stretch and to step way out of my comfort zone, which I want to challenge, I want to encourage, and I want to challenge you to think about defining that for yourself. Right now, where you are in your circle of comfort, and what you need to grow and be better. And if you want to talk about what that is, I'm going to be here afterwards, and I'd love to hear your ideas. And if I could be helpful to you, of course, I would love to be helpful. But I learned very quickly that assignment was meant to be at the time because it caused me to stretch and grow. So when I think about accountability, and I think about sacrifice, and I think about the burden of leadership, and then I think about personal growth and the opportunity for me to stretch out of my comfort zone, that it's no surprise that later in my career, when I was blessed to make my final rank and be given an incredible amount of responsibility, that the good Lord had prepared me well. And I was still going to make mistakes, but along the way, having those pillars in front of me of accountability and sacrifice and what it takes to be a leader and to teach others to do the same was really very, very helpful. About 2 years before I retired, I was sent by the Air Force to coaching certification school because the Air Force, in its infinite wisdom, decided they were going to start training their senior executives on how to coach. And I was very, very thankful for that. Now, I will tell you that program lasted about 6 months because it was a little ill-fated and a little short-sighted in what they really wanted to do. They wanted to bring corporate America into the Air Force, and it's just like total quality management, it's not always the best fit. But they couldn't take away the knowledge and the experience and the fire that they built in my belly for differentiating between mentoring and coaching. And so I spent a year on the Air Force's dime, thank you, Mother Air Force, learning how to be a coach. And then it became very clear to me when I retired what I should be doing with the rest of my life. Since then, as I said, I've worked in coffee shops, universities, corporate America, all across. My biggest client is Denso, who I'm very loyal to, and I've done an awful lot of work with them through the years. 2.5 years ago, I was asked to come and be an executive coach at the White House. On the East Wing, let's be very clear, on the East Wing, I'm not involved in the West Wing. I see it from where I am, but I'm in the East Wing. There's about 82, you may or may not know this, specifically if you've never had a chance to visit that beautiful place. On the East Wing, they've got 82 dedicated men and women who do two things. One, they take care of the first family, which is incredibly important, irrespective of who is in there. Taking care of the first family and their family. And number two, taking care of that institution that means an awful lot to you and I as Americans. And so I've been coaching them for 2 years, and you can only imagine the kinds of things that come across my desk when I'm up there. I signed a non-disclosure agreement that I promise you is more difficult than me trying to get into one of these fences over here. It was incredibly, incredibly heavy, but oh, what a joy and what a blessing to be part of that. Where am I on time? Not too bad. Okay. I'd like to share with you a few other lessons, if I could, through the years. Number one, we use the word humility a lot. I don't think we take it seriously enough. I think it's important every now and then while we're brushing our teeth, looking in the mirror, or maybe we're on our ride to work, to turn the radio off and think about the kind of impact that you're having on a day-to-day basis. And my friends, I don't care what your job is. I don't care whether you're at the lowest rung in an organization or at the very top of the rung. There are a few things that are going to separate you from the rest, and things that are going to help you be influential in your path, whatever that is. Number one is humility. Remembering, like the old analogy of the turtle being on top of a fence post, right? How did he get there? I don't know, but surely not by himself. Every one of us should be remembering that, no matter where we are in our walk of life. We have so many people in our path that have helped carve us and make us the kind of people that we are today. My friendship circle, I'm very blessed to say, is very large, but my inner circle is very, very small. And humility taught me that. To surround myself with very, very good people who I can breathe life into, and they can breathe life into me. Jim would be in that circle. When I look at people who I'm influencing, I'm reminded every single day that I should do so with humility. The second thing I want to talk to you about and leave you with is the idea of engagement. Engagement is a personal responsibility. The organization does have a role in trying to help you succeed and grow and develop, but at the end of the day, every single one of us have in front of us a choice to make. Am I going to be engaged? Am I going to give the discretionary effort that's necessary for not only me to succeed, but so that I can help others succeed? Way too many times, and innocently and unknowingly, we're sitting on our hands, waiting for somebody to provide the engagement for us. We have to remember that it's up to us to take that first step in that direction. Engagement is an invitation to think. I don't know that there's anything in our society or in our world right now we need more than people willing to think. And think together and be collaborative and do so with humility, and remember that we're accountable to ourselves first. We should be sacrificing for one another. We should be loving one another. We should be doing all those things that make us great. And boy, do we need more of that in today's world. Yeah. If you are a veteran, and I know there's a few in here, can I invite you to stand, please? So that we can recognize you. Don't sit down. Let's recognize them first. No, don't sit down yet. Don't sit down. Yes, sir. You got to be Air Force, man. You got a great look on your face right now. Sometimes Army, I probably shouldn't say that in this group, especially I think we got an Army major in the back there. I got to be really careful wherever he is. When we talk about sacrifice, when we talk about putting the common good ahead of ourselves, we have beacons in our society right here. Men and women who have demonstrated that. And I was just asked by the TV studio, what's the best way to thank them? The best way to thank them is to look them in the eye and be authentic and say thank you. And have that thank you mean, while I may not know what you have been through in your career and your life, I know that at one point you signed a check that was blank, that said whatever it takes. And as my brothers and sisters, I want to say thank you. And it was a pleasure to serve with you. Thank you very much. Come on up, you're okay. I want to end with a challenge. And here's the challenge. Sacrifice, accountability, leadership, humility, passion, and engagement. That doesn't just belong to men and women in uniform. We appreciate very much the celebration that happens in Veterans Day and knowing that we've made an impact. The best way, the real best way for you to thank us is to remember that we are no different than you. And all those words that I shared with you today, each one of you are doing that in your daily walk right now. Here at Oak Ridge, wherever you are on the campus, and back in your lives at home. And that makes all of us veterans feel really good. Jim, thank you so much for inviting me today. Thank you for giving me your time. I always appreciate an opportunity to speak. And thank you for not judging me on how tight my uniform is. God bless. Thank you.
Awesome. May.
I'll let you have.
I think this one's on. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the Diversity Council at ORAU and all of the representatives of the ORAU staff and personnel, we'd like to thank you for your support in helping us celebrate Veterans Day here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
Awesome.
Small token of appreciation.
Thank you very
As
much.
well as this, we thank you for coming and appreciate you giving your time and service back to this community as well as ORAU.
Wonderful. Wonderful to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we give Chris a round of applause, please?
I'll borrow Jim's.
This will work, Nick.
So on two things, none of this is possible without the hard work and dedication of the Diversity Council. So I'm going to ask the Diversity Council members to please stand and be recognized. They're probably wearing a blue shirt that looks like the one I have on that says Diversity Council. Stand, you guys, please, or come inside. Give them a hand, please. Every year we get the support of this fantastic band here. I'd like for you to give them a hand as well. This would not be successful without them. The ROTC has left the room, but please give them a hand as well. And there's something that we occasionally get to do, but it's not often that we have this setting, this format to actually make this acknowledgement. Contributing to diversity is as broad as the day is long. And so when we have opportunities to engage others in helping make our diversity events a success, or someone who has done something outstanding or spectacular in the neighborhood, in the community, or wherever, we like to also acknowledge them. So I want to say, on an unusual time for us, these beautiful flags that we have here, representing all of the branches of the military, are ours to use and not borrow like we have in the past because of Chad Becker. Chad, would you come up, please? On behalf of the Diversity Council, we'd like to give you this Diversity in Action Award and thank you for supporting us in making this a greater event than we had anticipated. Thank you.
So how's that for adjusting and adapting right there on the fly? So thank you all again for joining us and honoring our veterans. Following the closing performance, everyone here is invited to join us in the lobby for food, and I know that's why a lot of you came. To conclude our program today, the Oak Ridge Brass Ensemble will perform Echo Taps, followed by God Bless America, USA. Please stand in honor of that. So one last thank you to my great friend, Chris Coyne. I know you all enjoyed that, right? Please give him a round of applause.